half a mile of our office there.
All right. Well, we're going on the air here, boys.
Oh.
We're happy you're home, buddy. Glad you're home. All right. So it looks like it's going to take us a while. Welcome back, everyone, for another week. And I think it's going to take us a while now to get through our introductions. So how are we going to do it? Like, we could almost go with beards and no beards. That would limit things down to Tim. Tim's not even here. Tim here? Not even here. All right, so no beards, they lose out. So now we're going to go by Steve's, and then I guess okay, we'll start with Steve. So we'll start with Steve number one, which is Mr. Garen Sir. I don't know. Introduce yourself. To
Steve G. Yep, Steve G. I actually own that domain finally. I got it. Sniped it on an auction. Just run Steam Driven Media, and this week been trying to get ready for 2018 and learn some new tools before the end of the year, which is quickly running out, so I may not make it.
Very nice. And yeah, folks, Steve's always available. You know what I'm saying. All right, then we're going to go with Mr. Paisley, sir. Tell everyone who you are, where you work, what you're up to.
My name is Steve Plunkett. I am a secret hired hitman for the government and Fortune 5 corporations.
That'll work. That'll work. Steve Bonin, my Canadian brethren.
Yeah, Steve Bonin, Harris Web Creative. This week I've been disavowing links and trying to manage clients.
Yeah, manage clients. You mean like dealing with
dealing with clients that don't answer, and one of them their domain will probably be down in about 10 days, and they don't have a password.
Awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, that one. Okay, I guess Tim will go with you because the other Tim's not here, so we're safe at the moment.
Tim Calling, a Servant Art Web Designer Marketing. Just trying to look good with a hat on, like our Sifu there. So.
All right. And for those that don't know, Tim is a local specialist and even more finitely in the medical industry, just in case anyone out there ever needs someone. Mr. Capper, sir, great to see you, mate. Tell everyone who you are, where you work, what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm in the UK and I specialize in local SEO. So businesses with a location, basically.
Still keeping up with the dumb questions hangouts every week?
Yeah. I think we've done it 4 years now.
What days are those for some folks who can look them up?
Thursdays. So, yeah, and it's migrated across also to Facebook. So, obviously we try and answer during the week.
Yeah, that's a very good point. If you're looking for actually a group to join on Facebook, it could be a minefield out there, folks. So dumb SEO questions is where you can find Tim and company. And yeah, of the ones I unfortunately have to participate in to put out fires, that's at least the one I don't have to put out fires in. So
that's why I stayed in it.
Kevin, I might as well go to you.
Kevin Dory. I am in Dallas. I do local SEO for car dealers, and I've been spending the last week dealing with the end of the year with clients who are either switching or all end of year fun stuff.
So you just told them SEO is dead and move on. All right, cool.
It is.
Mr. Doc, brother, what have you been up to?
Sheldon, Intrinsic Value SEO and Search News Central. I specialize in technical SEO, and I'm just working on some new client projects here the last couple of days, getting them kicked off.
Nice. I know one of them. It's me.
Yep.
So, and last but certainly not least, I just like to keep you in the wings for everyone. Bill.
Bill Slosky. I'm the Director of SEO Research for Go Fish Digital, and I write at SEO by the Sea. I've been in the middle of doing a site audit for a client. Get that out to them today, and doing some blog posts too recently.
What are these blog post things? I don't think I've written anything in like a year and a half, maybe. It's nice.
Oh, no.
That's why nobody knows who I am, but that's okay. All right, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a great week. I mean, that took so long. Is the hour up now, or can we go now, or what? All right, so Bill, okay. I guess while I have you, we'll stay with you for a second. All right, I'll let you get your perspective, then I'll put my own 2 cents in. Okay, a few times in the last week, I've heard rank brain come up yet again, and I'm sure when we get to the end of year stuff and looking forward to 2018, we're going to hear more of it. And we've also heard some hummingbird things. So I guess my question to you is, can you, I feel like such an asshole. Can you at least try and summarize the two of them and whatever differences there may be within, like, yeah, I see, that's why I feel like an asshole, but can you do it in some sort of short order for folks as far as
Sure.
pick one, start with, and then go to the other, and essentially what we know about them and what they potentially might be doing in the background?
Both of them are aimed at Google getting a better idea of what a searcher means when they enter a query into a search box, or they speak a query, because they also contemplate conversational queries. So Hummingbird looked at all the words in the query to try to get context for what the query was about, what the person was trying to find out, what their informational or situational needs might be. Hummingbird did that a slightly different way, in a much more technical sense. It used a lot of machine learning approaches and used something that Google refers to as word vectors or thought vectors to try to understand the words that are used in a query and to see what terms might be related to those, and then see what's available in the world that it could respond to with that greater understanding of what a query might be. So they're both attempting to rewrite queries in a more meaningful way.
Right. Because, again, Neil Patel and Christine Sassinger, oh God, she's going to kill me. Both had sort of rank brain things lately, so I had to start thinking about that. Then obviously you and I ran into the hummingbird thing with Chase and stuff. So I was kind of going back and looking at them. So yeah, I do get the sense it's a lot of like query classification kind of stuff. I think Hummingbird, they actually touched on some of the conversational search, and I think some of that, seemed to play into it at the time. But I don't know, if you had to, like, I guess to me the fundamental difference is it seemed like Hummingbird was more reformatting a query and query classification kind of stuff, and then even reformatting a search result based upon, that. Whereas even more so, I think it's almost like rank brain was an extension of that, but using like the whole neural network approach for what they called at the time was disambiguated or disambiguous queries, meaning stuff that we may not know the searcher intent kind of thing.
There's a white paper that came out from Google last year called Biperpedia, which they made up out of query log information from Google to try to get a sense of things like what's the canonical questions that people ask in queries. When they ask a question, how is that shaped? What words do people use to ask certain questions? If they understand things like that better, they can answer those queries quicker.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else want to chime in? Doc, I know you've done a few miles with me on these topics. So,
actually, I'd say that Bill covered it pretty completely.
Wow, I was just pushing around. All right, see what it is. All right. Well, I guess before we go, has anybody else here got a topic, question, or anywhere they wanted to go? Because I got a list of shit to keep us busy. But if somebody else has somewhere they wanted to take things today, I'll leave the door open for the moment.
Well, are we going to talk about that rank brain penalty?
Okay, let me just put this to bed. Because we kind of joked about this before the session. And since we kind of started there, for all you folks out there that don't want me up your ass, rank brain and Hummingbird don't affect rankings, at least not in a traditional sense you'd think, meaning you can't do something on your page, you can't do something with your site or throw more, concurrent. I love that stuff, Bill. It's not about that. It's about, yes, if a Googler says to you, and you say to a Googler like John Mueller or whoever, say, does rank brain change affect rankings? And you say, well, it's a number 2 ranking factor. Google said so. Yes, because it's reorganizing and reformatting the query itself within its own internal working, so that search is going to change. So does it affect rankings? Yes. Is there anything you can do to affect its rankings? I don't think so. Is that your feeling with it, Bill? Because that's what I see.
It doesn't seem like it's really focused on things that people can do to improve the rankings. If you start thinking more about structured data and about making sure your page is about the concepts and topics that you're writing about, you're doing the best job you probably can.
It'll increase your odds of that affecting you. But in a scoring mechanism way, I don't know. You highlighted that post with Hummingbird, and I've gone through the Word2Vec and all this other vector stuff, and yeah, it's not as much a scoring boosting dampening effect as it is a reorganization effect of the rankings. Which, okay, that does affect rankings, but it's not a direct, scoring boosting dampening effect. At least that's what I found.
Google's come out with something they refer to as context vectors, which is a short way of saying some words have more than one meaning. And we're going to look at knowledge bases for the different meanings, see what words show up on those, and use some of those words to give context to pages that are about those different meanings.
That's, and I think that's really important, that everybody needs to understand the fact that when you try to understand what rank brain is doing, you got to understand that vectoring has become such a major part of search that context is now king, not content per se, context. If you can't maintain a focus of context on the page, you're not going to get as much benefit from the search engine.
Well, and again, we were talking a bit in the green room beforehand, and I was talking about cycles and how they kind of measure out who gets what, and the vectoring also, from what I can tell, Bill, with architecturally for them, is a save on cells and load time, computing power. By using these vector graphs and so on, if anything, there's a certain element of infrastructure that's at play, not just relevancy and quality of results. Hey, Dave, we're talking about rank brain and Hummingbird. Aren't you excited?
I did catch that. I sort of jumped in the middle. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to jump in here. It's like one of my favorite topics, but
go ahead.
I'm not sure what's been covered so far, so I'll just jump in as soon as I have a 2-minute opinion. Give me 30 seconds.
At this point, we've gone over the essentials of what we feel they are, and again, nobody knows. I think we went over the whole concept of ranking factors. It's like the caffeine days. Google plainly stated that caffeine was an infrastructure update, but you had your odd asshole running around going, "Hey, change your rankings with this caffeine." It's like, oh my god. So yeah, we can't cover that, but no, throw in your own perspective on it, man.
Well, I mean,
we're all just throwing our best educated conjecture out here. So
from where I was, and I jumped in late, but I like the tangent that Doc was talking on. I think it's more or less spot on. Given the idea of wrapping up in context, I think we can all agree with that. I don't know if it's been touched on yet, but a big sort of focus with me since RankBrain, but it's evolving faster because of, you know, I think different aspects and evolutions of machine learning. You know, has more to do in my mind with understanding what probable user intents for content is. So if you have a page like Blue Widget, you know, whatever, you got your standard Blue Widgets page. If all I am is an e-commerce site and I'm trying to rank for Blue Widgets, and Google sees that, yes, there are some e-commerce sites or e-commerce intent, but there's also some informational intents coming in after. If I have a site that's purely based on, you know, just a bunch of product listings of Blue Widgets, and I'm competing against somebody with a bunch of Blue Widgets, little bit of history on Blue Widgets, you know, that sort of content, but well structured on the page to cater to both users. I think that's something else that I'm well testing, and it seems to be working pretty well, is making sure you understand how to maximize your probability of hitting the most user intents possible for a query when there's multiple different possible user intents. If you have buy Blue Widgets, great, an e-commerce site's going to nail it. But
the shorter the tail, the more chance for ambiguation, more chance for, you know, query classification changes and so on. Like the shorter the tail, the you know, I painted the White House. Did you paint a White House or did you paint the White House?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's a great call. I mean, Bill's showing up on my screen right now, and I was about to go a tangent that I know Bill's probably as interested in as I am, and David, I know you're interested in your patents too. But like, you know, considering it from an edges and nodes sort of entities kind of standpoint of things, you know, and we're seeing a lot of this, you know, coming out of Google right now in a variety of different areas. But you talk about the White House, yeah, okay, is it a house? You know, connected by an edge with the node white, or is it, you know, the entity itself, the White House? Great example out of some of their patents was, you know, understanding that if I'm looking for, and this sort of dates the patent, but if I'm looking for Barack Obama, I'm probably not interested in some obscure high school that he happened to go to. I'm more interested in
right. So then you get back into semantic analysis, which is what are the other phrases and terms on that page? Right? Does it mention, you know, is it Washington, D.C.? What other entities and what other relations are being mentioned on that page helps to define that concept. Well, when it comes to a query, but again, I was using it more in a query classification sense, meaning that when, you know, someone types, again, I said this last week, but my kids, even when they were like 10 years old, they're, you know, that was not 2010. They knew that you had to put 4 or 5 words into Google to get what they wanted. You know what I mean? Like I had a 10-year-old, like 3 words wasn't working, 4 or 5. So I would ask him, you know, what do you do for a living, Daddy? So I would talk to him and say, so how to go use Google for me, and I'd watch them. Even they had learned at 10 years old that you had to put 4 or 5 words in to get what you wanted the first time, without having to reformat that query, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's where, you know, you think of this kind of query classification comes into play, is those shorter queries, those disambiguous queries that aren't quite as obvious because of that lack of, you know, terms in the search query.
Well, I think that's a really interesting example, and I know I had actually seen my eldest in a similar spot where he was entering in, because of course, you know, we all watch our kids to see what that generation is going to be doing, and was actually entering in words, and one of them didn't make sense, and I was like, well, what made you put that in? And he was right, and I can't remember what the specific example was now, but he was like, well, that word's going to be on the page. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's actually like, you know, a great way to look at it and go, it actually has nothing to do with what I'm looking for, but this is going to have something to do with, you know, he was looking up, I remember it was for a high school thing, and he was looking up specific data, and this word would have been related to that data, but had nothing to do with the subject he was looking up. And I was like, okay, yeah, this generation is far more sophisticated, but I think with RankBrain and machine learning and things progressing, I think the engines will finally get as sophisticated as our kids are.
Yeah. So, you know, and there's the whole Google Assistant thing. I know there was a lot of talk about conversational search around Hummingbird and stuff like that, since we were kind of pairing the two. Because in a way, they're both you know, Bill, they seem to be trying to deal more with the query classification and internally reformatting a query, because they have the data to know how people reformat queries. You know, it's almost like an internal search quality thing than it is a on-page, on-site kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And then, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Voice search is not always conversational search. It's command search. It's different. We don't talk to our voice assistant the way we talk to actual people.
Okay, no, okay, but actual conversational search is what I meant by that. Is that like if you know, I'm Canadian, and so I'm just going to go here. Is if you go, okay, Google, who is the Prime Minister of Canada? Gives me the answer. Who is his wife? Gives me the answer. Where do they live? Gives me the answer. I mean that by conversational search. I don't mean just voice search. Okay, voice search and conversational search are two different things. So what it's doing is it's stringing together a set of search tasks that would normally maybe be typed in or whatever. And it's doing it in a voice sense. But it's conversational in the sense that my last voice search is going to be linked to my next one. Because obviously, if I just go to Google right now and put in who is his wife, I'm going to get some crazy result. But with conversational search and what they were playing around with that, which was somehow tied to Hummingbird, I'd have to go look back. I'm really not going to go there right now.
It understands.
Go ahead.
It understands the pronouns in your subsequent queries.
Right, and looking at it as a single search task that's connected down the line.
Well, basically, it's applying some continuity to the conversation, you know, just like it would with the human.
So context, you know, so more folks. I don't think this is, you know, again, as Bill said, you can make relevant pages that hopefully Google or whatever will find, but this isn't the kind of thing you run around and try and optimize a page for, or that you can go out and overtly manipulate. No, it's just Google doing its job for the end user.
And one of the things I'm looking for are compositional searches, which are searching for things like, I'd like to find a bookstore near a Chinese restaurant. And you type that in and hope to get an answer so you can go read a book and eat lunch. Not sure if Google is going to be able to give us something like that anytime soon, but I'd like to see it.
Well, yeah, I'm still fascinated with that thing last. Okay, because I'm going to move on here, just to put this one to bed. To anyone listening now and or later, Rank Brain was first announced somewhere around early second quarter of 2015, and Hummingbird was 2013. So anybody who's trying to talk about this stuff now in a Facebook group or anywhere else, believe me, it's evolved, it's changed. It's not even what they first said it was, or any of us thought it was. It's you know, that was years ago, and things have changed. So done.
And there is no Rank Brain penalty.
No, could be. It's my next blog post, man.
There's a Google Brain team now that's got hundreds of members.
Right. Yes. And Jeff Corrado's on that, isn't he?
And there's a intern program.
Isn't Jeffrey Dean and Corrado both on that? I think.
Yeah. Jeffrey Dean's the head of it.
Yeah, and I know Corrado was on Frank Corrado. Yeah, and Corrado was one of the guys who was talking. He was the one that everyone got excited about, that was talking on forums or whatever about Rank Brain. So there you go. And they're both on the Google Brain team, so, which is their neural networks and stuff, isn't it?
It's some people who are trained by Jeffrey Hinton.
Yeah.
Jeff Dean and a few others. Yeah.
Yeah. So a project worth looking into. Sadly enough, I don't like to ever do it. I probably never have before. But the Wikipedia page on that's actually pretty handy. There's some really good leads on there for stuff to learn. All right, so let's move on from that. What to do? Oh, I'll do a simple one that I've been, you know, talking to someone about lately. Do you guys use Google Analytics annotations? Meaning, if you've made title tag changes, or if the web developer made some changes, this, that, the next thing. I have buckets of them. You know what I mean? Like, I'll get the you know, from the web developer, let's say, I get my bucket list of changes on the site, you know, and anything I think that might affect search or might affect anything I'm doing, I go and I make an annotation in Google Analytics. And anything I'm doing, not finite stuff, but let's say I, you know, made a money page or whatever, I went and made some title tag and this and that changes, I go make annotations in Google Analytics. Anybody else doing that?
My father used to do stuff like that in a notebook. Being able to
until I realized I could just put them in my analytics.
being able to annotate the analytics themselves is much easier.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I use that excessively. and it drives people crazy, and other clients love it because analytics and see what's going on. Usually I have a default list whenever I take over a new client. I go through and drop in all the major updates, just so that they have something to look back on and say, oh, look, here's where your traffic dropped, and here's where this major update happened. Let's take a look at that major update and see if that really did affect your traffic. It's a good starting point.
And I think it's key especially from an agency standpoint, either small agency, big agency, at any point. It's nice because I know that every one of my consultants can go in and see the same information. If I have to switch one over to the next, especially when they're on the phone with clients and things like that, it's not. Notes are great and Evernote's great, but to have it in the source information is so much easier.
Well, especially, if my team isn't dealing with the website itself, it's something I really like to train clients on, because web development teams do shit all the time, and I want change logs. And I don't mind that they go to analytics. I want at least monthly to get the change logs from the development team, so I can go look for anything that might affect me and go make my own notes in analytics. But
right, if
you could be situated. What did I do wrong? Because I changed the internal architecture this day and that day. What happened? I changed titles over here. Was it me? You don't have that developer change log, Sandy. Then it's harder to get forensic with it and figure out what might have happened. It's positive. Right. Things went up, went down. Why?
And one thing on that, Dave, that I like to do is you can reference in the annotations where that data came from. So you can say, like, here's my take on that.
Sheet names.
Have it.
XLS.
Exactly. Yep.
Back in the days when I was an admin at a forum, every time that Google would go through an update, we would wait for the people to start rolling in with questions asking about whether or not they got penalized by Google because of the update. It's like, and we'd go through the same series of questions. Did you change your website? Did you make any changes? Did your competitors make any changes to theirs? Did your industry change somehow so people stopped searching for one thing and started using different words to search for the same thing? And I don't think I've ever came across somebody who looked like they had been penalized.
To be honest with you, man, I did forensic work for like 4 or 5 years until it got depressing. And it was rarely ever one thing. You know what I mean? It was rarely. It was so many times when you see that hockey stick of the analytics going down from search traffic, it'd be, that perfect storm, Steve, you know what I mean? Like the developer did this day on the 301s, and the SEO guy did this, and then, so many times, like you can't just, and we still see that. It's not forums anymore, it's Facebook groups, but you still see people coming in saying, hey, this and that happened, someone tell me what happened. You can't, you know what I mean? Unless you're really, and that's an SEO lesson for everybody out there, is if you're not yourself or your clients or whoever keeping track of the developer change logs, you may not have all you don't have all the information.
You should always try to have as much information as possible, and if you get it, document where you got it. And that's, I think for 10 years I've been in the business of cover your ass, so somebody knows where you got the information, because there's nothing worse than, I love it. I love the annotations in analytics, especially when you have clients that are in reports that you didn't give them, that are messing around, and then they can turn around, and sometimes it saves you a phone call or saves
Google
you an email.
Google Data Studio, you're done.
Yep, I know. I'm working on that. That's a side project. I don't
even let them in there. Like, and another thing, does your firm charge for you answering emails and talking to clients? Because I do. And that's the easiest way to shut them up. $150 an hour. Oh, yeah, okay. And then they go and look at my invoice at the end of the month, and they see, half an hour answering email, half an hour. They're like, yeah.
We did that as a consultant. That made sense.
I get that. I was in analytics today, and I saw this report. I don't quite get this. Could you explain it to me? I'm like, yeah, I can. For $150 an hour, I can explain that to you. Sure. That's fine by me. All right. So I was meaning to do this last week.
Do you build 5-minute increments, 15-minute increments, 30
15.
increments,
15.
an hour only.
Yeah, so 15. So if it takes me 5 minutes to answer that email, it's 15 right off the bat. If it goes to 6, if it goes to 60 minutes, you're getting a whole half hour.
I do half an hour minimum because you distracted me from what I was working on. It's
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. I should probably do that too.
No, that's
it takes you out of the groove of what you're doing, right? So
right. Unless I answer it like later on in the day, and then I'll just sit there and I've got 3 emails from the client. I'll add up 3 5-minute conversations and bill 1/2 hour. You know what I mean? Instead of trying to do that 3 times, that would be shitty.
But yeah, you know, I've always found that that's the easiest way to train a client, not to be emailing me with every little thought in their head.
That's why I just don't answer emails until certain times of the day.
Yeah, but no, see, I would charge a premium on that after like 6 o'clock. Like I start at 6 in the morning, 6:30, 7, between 6 and 7. So by 6, I'm already 12 hours in. No, if I saved it till like 8 o'clock at night, that's like what I call plumbing emergency hours. You know, that's a pipe just burst in your basement. You're dragging me out of my private time. No, that's the price is going up on that shit.
No, I don't allow client contact like that anymore at all.
Yeah, like you know, your house, like things have to be burned to the ground for me to give a shit about that. All right, I was saving this from last week, which will become painfully obvious in a moment. I'm going to do a little screen sharing. Look at me go. I'm really fancy. It's how I roll. Oh, there we go.
Sweet.
Whoa, that's sexy. All right. Oh, look at this. We got a pop-up. Nice. I found this article somewhere, and I was wondering if anybody had opinions. Yep, I'm going here. All right. So, Dave, save us all the grief and tell us, give us the elevator version here.
Yeah, sure. Don't chase them. You know, I'm talking to a bunch of like well-experienced, like seasoned SEOs, so everybody would know. Like the crew we're talking to here would absolutely know all of these issues, right? Like the trappings of trying to chase after an algorithm, getting it wrong. You know, drawing the wrong conclusion because you're only managing, not for those of us here, but you know, if you're only managing 1 or 2 sites and you see a fluctuation and go, oh, it must be,
all right,
chances are you're wrong.
I'm gonna break this down. So define for me, what is chasing the algorithm?
Yeah, that's a good point, because I do make it really clear in the piece that you're looking at there that what I'm not talking about is paying attention to them. Yes, pay attention to what's going on around you. Pay attention to the weather reports if you feel so inclined. Google doesn't want you to, but if you want to, go ahead. You know, all of these things can lend insight if you're looking at a big picture. But this is more for the people who would hear about an update going on here that it has to do with backlinks, or it has to do with anchor text, or it has to do with, you know, those sorts of things, and then running in and chasing after them. You know, that's more what I'm talking about in the piece about, yeah, don't do that part. Don't hear about this update. Hear about what, you know, over at Webmaster World.
The old knee-jerk reaction thing.
Right? Well,
like,
exactly.
Remember Matt Cutts would say one thing and everyone would run off to their sites and start changing shit.
Well, that's it. I mean, I could have actually written, and maybe I should have included something in there, and this counts for listening to like Gary or John too.
Well, of course.
Don't go chasing after them just because they say something matters. Think about it, put it into a bigger context, and if it makes sense for you, do it.
Gotta go to you, Bill. So, Bill, for the record,
yeah,
you read patents, papers, and so forth, and you write about them because they interest you.
Yeah.
How does, because it's never there, because, you know, you and I used to put disclaimers, we used to put, you know, apparently. What would you say to people that come along and read your stuff and then go either running to the website and start making changes and this and that? Like, how do you explain that to people when you get the chance?
I have gotten a phone call from a coworker who asked me about a site of a client where the client was ranking organically really well, and was also in local results with a really good rank. And the organic result just disappeared. And the local result was boosted. So the person was ranking page 1, position 1 with the local result, but the organic result they used to have was completely gone. The day before, I had written a blog post about a patent from Google that said that they would start doing that. They were adding more diversity to search results by merging organic and local results. So sometimes
Google was waiting for you to write about it to implement it.
Right. So I sent a link to the blog post I'd written the day before to my coworker and said, this explains what our client just went through. Google removed their organic result to try to add more diversity to search results. It may not be something that sticks, and Google stopped doing that about 3 months later. But looking at the patent, understanding that that algorithm existed, explained a lot really quickly. Because the second I heard it, I knew what had happened. But so it does make sense to pay attention, to keep an eye on what's going on.
But I've always, you know what I mean, since I've been doing, you know, ran across you like 2004, whatever. I've always just treated like a sense of osmosis that when I approach a project or whatever, this information's in my head. Is that what you're going after, Dave? Is that understanding the concept is great, but don't go running around willy-nilly. Like if Bill wrote something, let's not run over there. Because Matt Cutts said something, let's not run over there. Is that what you're trying to get at with don't chase the algorithm?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, Bill brought up an interesting point that reminded me, and I'll go back a little bit to an article that I had published earlier this year, but it has nothing to do with the fact that I published this article. Google filed for a patent a couple of years ago, just got granted last spring, guided purchasing via smartphone. And it's all about the process of being guided through a system, you know, with questions and answers. And then lo and behold, November 30th, it comes out, Google Assistant, through the you know, basically, you know, the TechCrunch reported on it, can help you find a plumber, right? Find me a plumber. And then it starts asking you these questions to help you sort of fine tune. That's outstanding. And I saw that right away because I'd read the patent. And as soon as it happened, I'm like, yeah, spot on. Just like Bill hit. Yep, spot on. But there's been a lot of patents I've read that have had nothing to do with anything I've seen since, right? It was a really neat read, but it didn't actually come to fruition, or certainly not in a way that I would have predicted if I just read the patent for its function. So it's exactly like that. Take all these things. Some of them are going to be spot on, some of them won't. But if you just take all this information in, be it an update, be it something John says, be it a patent, just bring it all in as information, then you'll recognize it when you'll see it and know how to react. But, you know, and sort of create a structure for it. You know, but without actually going, oh, okay, I'm going to put all my eggs in that basket, right? I mean, that doesn't make sense. Some of them, like the guided purchasing via smartphone, that one just made sense, right? So it was already starting to think of ways to use that, because you could just see that is a
and again, you know, I mean.
So one of the values I get out of reading patents is it gives me some insight into assumptions that search engineers make about the web, about searches.
Which lends itself to my own hypothesis when I see a situation.
Right.
And that's what I always try to teach people, is that same thing, dude. Is, yeah, I don't, again, how can you design a web page if you don't know HTML? How can you do SEO unless you understand information retrieval? I'm sure you can test and learn things, but to me at least, having some sort of understanding on how things work in the back end helps me with any hypothesis I have.
I've had people ask me if I have experience using certain platforms when talking about a certain project. Like a lot of nonprofit sites use a certain platform to receive donations. And often with e-commerce, there are a number of e-commerce platforms. They all work similarly, have similar features, but I tell people it's really important for me to know what's going on with the search engines. The platforms are sometimes interchangeable. I can look up a platform and I can get information about how it's supposed to work. I don't necessarily need to be an expert in a particular platform to do SEO for a site that uses it.
Right.
It's helpful, but it's more important I know how the search engines work, how they handle stuff.
To me, that even starts to go back to what we used to call future proofing, meaning if you don't know your history, it's hard to predict the future. Like, you know, so many of these young folks, again, in these groups that are irritating the hell out of me, they're making decisions. They're making decisions based upon the most recent this or that, or what's hot or what's not. But when you're a regular client, I want to know something that I'm doing is still going to be safe and or effective, if not both, 18 months from now. You know what I mean? And again, having that knowledge of not only, you know, history and SEO, meaning like so many of us here, like 10 plus years, but, you know, history like Bill and I and Dave and some algorithms and Doc and Steve. And, you know, it helps you know that with some sense of security that what I'm doing today is going to stand the test of time, that it's still going to be functional and not, you know, dangerous down the line.
Well, I think there's another aspect to it that, you know, adding on to that, Dave, is the fact that when we see these patents, and I don't read them, I listen to you and Bill to get the elevator pitch version. But when we see a patent generated that ends up being acted on, that also gives us some insight as to the thought processes and what they may be pursuing at Google, what they've got in mind down the road. And that's where the real wins come in, is when you can actually not accurately, but, you know, you get lucky and you can predict what Google is going to do down the road and be there first before your competition. And that can sometimes come into play and be a real gold mine.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, a sort of cheat way through, and I don't know if Bill's done this. I mean, there's no way you can possibly read every patent, and to be quite honest, most of them, the vast majority, would be incredibly boring and useless for me to read, like a patent out of Google. But I do find it interesting. Once a week, I'll stop in and just read through all the titles of the patents. Now, it started because I was looking more for which ones do I want to read. But it quickly became a very interesting, okay, here's all the stuff they're looking at, and you can sort of start to connect the dots. And some of them, you know, yeah, it's kind of interesting for me as an SEO. Some of them is just interesting. You know, you'll all of a sudden see a whole glut that's around home automation, or you'll see a whole glut that's around a specific, you know, tracking technique for things in the air, right, or something like that. And I don't know, even if nothing else, it gives you an interesting insight into stuff, I would say stuff they're looking at, but stuff they were looking at 2 years before when they were filed.
Yeah, but you also got to look at it in the sense of, if you understand patent law, it could be just stuff they want to protect in case they want to use it later. It doesn't mean it's in there. And I think that's, I don't know about Bill, he can speak for himself, but so many times when I'd read a patent and share it with people, this and that, they want to take it as gospel. They want to take it, you know, it not necessarily. You have to temper your feelings about it and think, you know, they could just be protecting space. It could be, you know, something they're going to use down the line. And then when it got there, they went, nah, it didn't work out. You know, I mean, they tested it, didn't work, threw it out, or they never wanted to use it. They were just protecting themselves against a competitor or something, you know?
Well, I think
they
it's
saw
probably a
that
safe
Facebook
assumption.
thing were in it.
I think it's probably a safe assumption to say that more patents are filed to keep the competition away from something than are actually filed in order to allow the company to do something and protect it.
And that's why it's worth looking at patents, because they're not published to market to the public.
Yeah.
They're published to keep competitors from doing things that they're interested in doing.
Right.
Dave was saying that he looks at the titles patents once a week, which is a little bit dangerous, because if you don't know what some of these terms of art mean that are used sometimes in titles, you may not have any idea what the patent's about.
Well, come on, Bill. My favorite phrase has always been, those skilled in the art.
And the word content means advertisements. So if you see a patent that talks about content on a website, they're talking about sponsored search.
One other thing that I'll jump in on is, I know that you always pay attention to, Bill, and Dave too, is whose names appear on a patent.
Yeah.
Because that can sometimes indicate a tremendous amount. Is this somebody who has been working in that field for the last 15 years? Is this somebody that happened to have been the CTO of some company that just got acquired? You know, that can often give you a lot of indication of where they're going.
And I recognize some of the names as people whom I want to look at the patents from. There are certain people like Navneet Panda's gotten really good at writing interesting things. There's a reason why they named that Panda update after him. He was a smart guy. He asks good questions. He pursues good ideas. There are a couple of people who specialize in site quality issues too, who are really good at writing stuff. The guy who spoke at SMX West last year, Paul Hare, has written some really interesting patents.
Christine, how are you? Christine's ears are burning, so she had to come in and,
Morning, Christine.
Hi, Chris. And no, we're not going back to rank brain right now. Just let you know. It's enough for one day. All right, let's see what else is on the docket here, boys. Get the old man glasses there. All right, search engine. Oh, this looks interesting. Oh, God. Okay. All right. I think we should go here. Why not? Not because anybody here needs it, but because I can just see this being an issue. All right, so Google released its new SEO guide, folks. Yeah.
Anybody here read it?
This is a good thing.
Yes, I did. I went and spent the time because I know I'm going to be hearing about it in some group. Someone's going to take one little nugget of it and start telling us how the world has changed. Google's now doing this because they published that, you know.
Right, going back to our previous conversation about hearing one thing and just running.
Well, yeah, it's the old chase
Can
the
we
owl.
just start referring to people who use those types of information instead of nuggets? We can just start calling them rabbit pellets.
Yeah, I think we can do that. Okay, so are you on Google? I think we all know how to figure that one out. How do I get my site in Google? Okay, wow. Do you need an SEO expert? Okay, here we go. An SEO expert is someone trained to improve your visibility on search engines. By following this guide, you should learn enough to be well on your way to an optimized site. In addition to that, you may want to consider hiring an SEO professional that can help you audit your pages, with, of course, the audit that you picked up somewhere on the web. Okay, deciding to hire an SEO, blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah, so, okay, review your site and content structure. Okay, technical advice. Okay, content development. Oh, that's nice and ambiguous. We'll be hearing about that one. Keyword research. Okay, interesting. SEO training. Okay, sure. Help Google find your content. Okay. Which pages shouldn't be crawled? Okay, I think we're okay there.
David, why doesn't it say anything about skyscraper content?
Hey, I don't know.
About what?
Skyscraper content.
Well, it's very important, man. Because you need that. It's very important. Well, you have to have your keyword on the page at least 20 times, don't you? I don't know.
Yeah.
Let your Google see the page the way the user does. Okay. Create accurate page titles. Okay, I can live with that. Create good titles and snippets and search results. Okay, I can live with this. Yeah, all right. Use the description meta tag. Okay. And someone here goes says, we might use it, which I thought were cute. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Description meta tags are important because Google might use them as snippets for your pages. Yeah, that's one we know. Use heading tags to emphasize important text. You know we're going to hear about that one. Yep. Add structured markup data.
Formatting elements in WordPress templates. That's how I'm seeing them used most commonly.
Yeah, well, again. Okay, so the one that's really got me going is the one I know I'm going to hear about. Organize your site hierarchy. Well, this could give rise to the old Bruce Clay's siloing stuff, but you know. Look at this, guys. Apparently, architecture is important. Wow, who fucking knew? Breadcrumbs. Actually, breadcrumbs. Actually, Google really likes breadcrumbs, folks. I never, to be honest, I don't see enough people ever talk about that.
Maybe that's one of the things that we all think is a secret, so we all don't talk about it.
Is it? Because yeah, man, I don't think it gets the airtime it needs. Because it's even you even got it in Search Console, which is like a subtle hint.
Dave, give me how to do site links for 20.
Yeah, you better go ask Alex because Dave ain't doing it. Simple URLs, okay, I can live with that. You know, display in search results. Yeah. Make your site interesting and useful. Well, that could be more stupid. Really? You know, at the end of the day, guys, if we would, other than architecture and you know 301s and crap like that, we'd really be out of a job if people just built a site and forgot about Google. If people just actually built a site for the end user, we'd probably be out of a job. You know, just putting it out there. Where is it? Come on, baby. Come to Papa. Come to Papa. Optimize your images. Okay, I can live with that.
Be careful who you.
Here's one I thought when I was reading through this. Help search engines find your images. Yeah, okay. Anybody, how many people here actually use the image sitemap?
No.
I do. Depends on the client.
Yeah, I don't have any clients that really need to rank images, so.
That's it.
Go ahead, sorry.
Image sitemaps, video sitemaps, 9 times out of 10, you come into a large brand and you have to go in and make sure their YouTube channel works right because they didn't set it up right.
Again, it depends on the company, but I hate to say this, but anybody searching images is more than likely looking just to steal pictures. Are they really somebody who's going to come to your site and buy anything or convert in any kind of meaningful way?
Well, no.
Why do I really want my images? You know what I mean? Unless if you got jewelry or something like that, maybe. If you got a visual product that there's a visual need for it, all right. But I've always been dicey on that. Like I had a client who was like, we're getting he's looking at Search Console. He's like, we got 50,000 a month, this and that. And then I went and divided that into Google Web Search and Google Images. 30,000 of those were Google Images. No wonder you're not converting shit.
Hey, Dave.
No, Christine's getting in here. All right, go ahead.
The one girl in the call here. You're right. I wouldn't want to waste all my call on 30,000 images. But as a female, a lot of times I do use image search for product, trying to find product.
Yeah, no. Again, if it's a visual product, like my wife lives on Pinterest. You know, if it's decorating the house or buying something or whatever, she gets a lot of her ideas from Pinterest and follows it up. And sometimes go to the website, not so much. But I understand that. But from a client standpoint, do I really want that?
When I'm searching for a product, a lot of times I can't remember what it was called. I just saw it somewhere. So I use image search to find a site that carries it. Like my cats have a toy that I love.
Right.
And I couldn't remember the name of it. So I used image search to find it. So there are product searches that I do.
My next question, Chris, do you follow through or do you learn the name of it and then go Google search?
No, I'm talking about Google searching images for it. Yeah, I go.
Image of that cat toy. Do you go to the website through image search?
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, to me, I would find it on Google Images. Then I would go and requery based upon
But why would you do that if you can just go to the website from the image?
I don't know if that's the best website. I need Google to tell me that.
But it does. It says go to website, right? So,
Hey, Dave.
I've even taken that a step further. I actually had a piece of equipment that I didn't know what the hell it was or who had made it, and it was in such bad shape that there was no discernible part number or serial number or anything. So I just took a picture of it and went to Google image search, and it found me a match. And I'd found out what it was and was able to find out who could make a replacement.
See, but again, like I use image search, but once I figured out what I was trying to find, I would still end up going back to the normal organic. That's just me. So
yeah, and I normally would too.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave.
Yes, sir.
Pretend you're Walmart and someone types in Walmart sucks, and I don't want the meme that says Walmart sucks to show up. I just want the Walmart logo to show up. Think about it.
Or ORM stuff.
Yeah, totally ORM stuff, because you know, if the first thing you get an image search for Walmart is a Walmart suck meme, then yeah, I need to fix that. I need to fix that whole 3 to 5 images that could pop up in universal search based on the modifier that goes with the brand name, right?
Fair enough. All right, we got. I like it. All right, so next up we got.
Dave, you just provided a perfect example of knowing who your customer is.
Right. Yep. What
because
the situation?
If you have customers that do that, then you need to be following through on it.
Right. So again, you can go to Search Console, folks, and see how much image search traffic you're getting and make your decisions from there. All right, make your site mobile friendly. I think that goes without saying. Make sure they're indexed accurately. That's not a bad section. Promote your website. Well, we're just going to go past that because the spammers are going nuts. Analyze your search performance and user behavior, Bill. This is the one I know I'm going to hear about. This is the one that got me, Bill.
They didn't mention AMP at all?
No, AMP's in here. Sorry. Yes, AMP is in here. Most definitely. But yeah, AMP is, I did read this whole damn thing, and no, AMP is most, there you go. Right there. Yeah, AMP is in here. Most definitely. Oh, so I'm sorry, but that's going to be the wrap-up show in 2 weeks, Steve. Next Friday, just so everyone listening and watching, next Friday, I'm just going to get really drunk and talk shit because it's a Christmas party, and that's what we do. And the week after that, we're going to do the year in review and then the next year. So we'll get into the AMP thing, I'm pretty sure, on the last Friday of the year. So Bill.
Yeah.
This scares me. Right there. You know what this means, right, Bill?
No, what does that mean?
This means that you can rank better by navigating your site. You can rank better by having bots spend time on page. You can rank better by lowering your bounce rate. You can rank better by all of these user behavior things.
Or by direct traffic to your site?
Not necessarily.
Oh, yeah.
That's not. Where's that implied, dude? That's not implied. I just want to know. I want to know what people do on my website so I can order more of a particular product. I can optimize the page information for my call to action using different action verbs because the one I was using aren't working. So based on the user behavior of what they do, you know, do I put an ad for Donald Trump on a page that's targeted toward women and I got 100% bounce rate? You know what? You know what I mean?
You know, I've always answered this question almost like a Googler would, in the sense that, yes, I always tell people, yeah, it can actually affect your rankings. But the way I like to think about it is that if someone has a good experience in your website, they're more likely to talk about it, which can build your authority, can build your trust. They're more likely to link to it, which is obvious. I mean, a good experience on a website can lead itself to a lot of things that will help you rank better. Do I think necessarily, you know, in the last week, Christine, I've literally had two people try and argue with me that navigating a site, like just surfing around a website, is going to increase your rankings. I had another person tell me that Google should, if somebody buys something, I'm shitting you not, buys something from their website, they should rank higher because someone bought something off their website.
Yeah.
They trust them. I had another.
That's Neil Patel has been putting out that garbage, and Moz. But can you go down just a little bit on this page? Analyzing user behavior.
Neil Patel's ghostwriters.
You know, let's see which parts of the website Google bought. There you go. Sure.
Okay, so it's just about analyzing user behavior, not using user
Right.
behavior. That's what I thought.
Right, but that doesn't matter. Most of the people in this business, just like reading the title of one of Bill's blog posts and the Bill's blog post, they run with it. And I've had so much of this implicit user and explicit user feedback theories, and they don't even know what that is, but that's what they're talking about. They just don't know what they're talking about. That it's been insane lately. You know what I mean? And people just want it's intuitive. Like sorry, the third one I had was Google, once again, using Google Analytics. And I said, well, that's called a search engineer, that's called noise. It's called noise is because not everybody in the world. And then so they counteracted me with saying, well, they have Chrome. And I said, well, still, not everybody uses Chrome. Not everybody's in Google Analytics. To a search engineer, that's a noisy signal because it's limited and you know, you can get everything you need from it.
Oh, I
But
completely agree.
You know, it won't go away. You know, and it's an unfortunate.
That's because Neil Patel and Moz keep writing articles about it.
Yeah. You know, Bill, you and I, like I've seen Bill, like obviously I've got the, you know, implicit user feedback, explicit, you know, I've got that from reading patents. But anytime I've talked to anyone, like any search engineer and this and that, they always tell me, you know, very simply, they're noisy and spammable. Noisy means you can't always get through signals. Spammable means like I could write a bot to go and do that. Like if navigating pages and time on page and scroll were a thing, how's that not spammable? You know, how do you protect yourself? Anyway, so Bill, what's your current thought? Like I know we've done this back and forth over the years, but what's your current feeling as far as, you know, how Google might be using implicit and explicit user feedback?
I think that they do look at some, but I think that it doesn't guide everything they do. They're really big on collecting data and trying to make some type of sense of it. They're the company.
Now, again,
lost a designer because he didn't like the way they were testing different versions of blue.
But do you think personally, like with your knowledge and history, reading stuff like I do you think that's something that they would use as a ranking factor per se, or as something to test against search quality? Meaning, you know, we implemented this change and that change. Now let's look at the implicit and explicit user feedback and see if it worked. Like I always get the sense from talking to guys over there that's almost something that's not necessarily a ranking factor per se, but something to judge search quality.
So Google might have implemented the Venice update, or the update to the Venice algorithm with another algorithm that said we're going to look at how often people click on these local results. If they don't click much on them, we'll start showing them different ones. You know, so do you call that ranking or do you call it display?
You know, it's so ambiguous at Google anyway. Like a ranking factor, in my mind, is totally different than a scoring mechanism, a dampening factor, and a boosting factor. A ranking, the way they always talk in the grade pattern, is that anything that affects the ranking of a page, which could be, you know, query reformation or whatever.
If they decide that a page is supposed to show up in search results highly because it's local, and then decide that if it doesn't get many clicks, it doesn't hold much interest to people performing the search, and they'll show something else, that could be considered ranking.
Right. Which isn't the same as the scoring or boosting or
and it's scoring those results based upon user behavior, things.
Whereas I think most SEOs, like, you know, lesser experienced or whatever, I think a lot of them are really looking for or talking about boosting, you know, or dampening. Meaning, is it a penalty, which is a dampener to them, or is it a boosting, meaning something I can do to increase my rank? Whereas a Googler saying a ranking factor is totally different than necessarily being a scoring, boosting, or dampening.
Someone visits a web page, spends 3 seconds there, leaves. They either found what they were looking for right away, or they have no interest in the content of that page.
Is that
Steve? What? Steve?
How do you know?
Steve G. Steve G. What was your favorite one for the people like coming to a site and bouncing right away? You always had that one.
Oh, yeah, that was Cranky Dave ranked #1 for how big is a millimeter on his jewelry site.
Right, because they went there, read the answer,
And drove craploads of traffic because people wanted to know how big a millimeter was, and he had a good page about it.
right. So to those of you thinking about these things, time on page in this instant means nothing, but they got their answer. All right, sorry, Plunkett, go for it.
Yeah, did they click on a contact page? Because what page they click on determines, like when you got site links in a SERP, sometimes they click on contact page, sometimes they click on privacy, sometimes they click on support, sometimes
But
they
again,
click.
this is where it becomes a noisy signal. Did I click on the contact page because I had bad service from you? Or did I click on that to get more information about a product? You know, just clicking on a contact page becomes a noisy signal because we don't know why. As a search engineer, you don't know why they're clicking on that. So how you can rank someone based upon that? Maybe I clicked on contact because, you know, your service sucked and no one's returning my calls. Like how can you assign authority, trust, or anything like that based upon a contact page? I don't believe it.
Ready? Did I click on the contact page, and did I click back, or did I close my browser window?
Again, I'm not sure.
What's your question? That's
So-
not a question. Did you click back to the website to do more shopping? Is that what you're saying?
No. Did I? Okay, so let's say I got a SERP. I click on a contact page, contact.html for on a client's page, right?
Yeah.
I'm a customer and I click on a page. At that point, once I see the contact page, do I click back to search results, or do I close the window of my search query because I've found what I was looking for?
You maybe search a little bit differently than I do. I wouldn't have closed the window because I was happy with that result.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, again, so that's
that's not how I browse.
Okay,
Yeah,
so there you go, different browser behavior.
Again, that's again, there's a zillion patterns. That's where it gets confusing. But when you talk to a search engineer or you watch various, you know, there's standards on my YouTube channel. It's still considered noisy because you don't really know the definitive answer to that. You know, and so to start assigning weights and values to that, it's a dicey area for a search engineer.
I think I missed what the question is, though, about the contact page. Are you talking about pogo sticking or the contact page itself?
Well, he's using that as an example and including pogo sticking. So,
Okay. Click backs don't necessarily make sense. Pogo sticking makes sense.
to a degree. But now you got to take search behavior in. Now you got to take the multiple sessions and task them, because let's say I pogo stick up the first result, the second result, the third result, the fourth result. Then I go back to the first one again and stay there. You see what I'm saying? The pogo stick itself isn't always a definitive signal to it.
But they have stated they use it, and I believe that they do to help at least sort what results are most relevant.
Now you got to take,
Pogo sticking, not just coming back out, but going back and looking at other
Are
pages.
you talking about pogo sticking for negative SEO?
No, I'm just talking about pogo sticking being something Google says they look at.
Oh, well, you can pogo stick to take a site in for ORM. You can move it down at least 2 pages, at least 2 spots in the top out of the top 10. You can move it sometimes from 8 off the page. If it's a 5, you can drop it down to 7. If it's in the top 2 results, you can get it to a 3 or 4 by pogo sticking it. If you want.
And they've said they use that because if you're pogo sticking off results and enough people are, then that result's probably not highly relevant. So that makes sense. But not just going back to search. That's different than pogo sticking.
You have to do multi-country IP, because if you do it too consistently, it'll tell it's a spam signal. But if you do multiple different times, never the same time every day, and use different country patterns, you could pogo stick the hell out of it through a proxy server.
Sounds about right.
So again, it comes back to the trustability of these kind of signals as far as noise and spammability. You know what I mean? Like that's always a dicey area.
Well, I think spam signals, I think it's a dicey area because if you start to play in gray hat or you're playing in black hat, you know, like I remember someone who totally did a black hat thing, made their 6 figures in the weekend, and stopped by Monday. And you know who I'm talking about. We're not going to mention his name. Just off a brand, brand parody. There we go. But the point being is that, you know, spam signals, I think, are a gray area. But if you ride, a lot of people don't ride spam signals. They chase the algos. But if you ride the spam signals, you can usually change Google pretty quickly because you know what their concern is. Crickets? Anyone? Crickets? Crickets? Anyone?
Oh, fuck. You know that's going to be in my edit. So I was just looking at my notes for a second there. But yeah, there'll definitely be some crickets in there. In other news, Search Console is giving 12 months data now. Woo. Like that's when you know it's a slow news week, when there was like literally 3 different articles. Literally 3 different articles about, oh my God, they're giving 12 months data. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. If I go over to Google Analytics and I've got Search Console hooked up there, I can generally get the most of that data.
You can get, you get 12 months data now. They just took away half of your other information.
Yeah, like.
It's terrible.
What about Twitter threads? Twitter threading.
What? Where? Who? What? What is Twitter?
Threading.
I'm sorry. What is this Twitter thing you're talking about? I heard of it. I remember it. Well,
okay. Twitter threading. I posted it online because it was kind of.
No, I meant Twitter in general. What the fuck is it? Like literally, I've been seeing ads. I saw ads on YouTube. My kids were watching a video, like gaming video on YouTube, and there was an ad for Twitter. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, "Oh, times are tough." I'm like, you know, I was 10 years, and I've never seen one ad for Twitter. And all of a sudden, they're showing up on YouTube and shit. I'm like, man, things must be getting bad over there. So yeah, that one's starting to head the way of Google Plus, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, Twitter could save itself if it would listen to users, but it doesn't. It keeps doing stupid things like 280 characters.
See, no, I'm pretty sure the downfall started when Numbnuts got elected down in the States. he loves Twitter so much people won't even go on anymore because they might see
No, yeah, but the true downfall started when they cut off all the developers from the APIs, and people who could make the apps that made Twitter make sense to people couldn't do that anymore. And that's when they started having an issue. And they destroyed TweetDeck. So.
Well, TweetDeck's still there.
Yeah, but I mean, they destroyed how good it was. It's not a great program. It was a great program. So, but on Google Search Console, they've taken away a lot of functionality and data, and it's not good. Like there's new information that's great, but unfortunately, they took away a lot of things that are necessary that I use every day, and they're not in there.
Like what? Come on, give me an example.
I can't even do a cross check now on mobile versus another device. I can do mobile or I can do desktop, but I can't do both.
Yeah, it's compare.
Yeah,
It's compare. It's the third link.
Not in the new version that I have.
Oh, okay. Did they take have you got intelligence events in GA yet?
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of the intelligence events in GA are actually our favorite things from Webmaster Tools as far as audience and behavior.
Well, that's fine, but I need to be able to go into Webmaster Tools and just quickly look at things and not like right now. I can't even do a cross comparison on mobile versus desktop. So. Are you serious? That's like the #1 function. You go when you click search analytics, you click on clicks, impressions, mobile versus. Yeah, you can't. You can't do that? Not right now. They may fix that, but right now you can put in one. Oh, that bites. I can go look at mobile. I can look at desktop, but I can't look at both together on a cross check, like on a cross comparison. Well, complain and have them fix it. I'm going to write an article next week.
That's what people is like, well, what do we do about SEO? Well, what's the problem? Well, Google just doesn't work right. Well, have you talked to Google yet? No.
What?
Why not? They fix shit.
I found out at PubCon they read some of my articles. So so I'm gonna put that one out there. It'll be fair.
Matt used to read all kinds of stuff. So I mean, you know, when Matt used to talk to us. So there was a point where we used to know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of us out there. The reason why they don't have a person at Google who's like SEO dude other than John Moo is because John Moo is confusing people like Matt Cutts kind of did, but the people knew what Matt was talking about, knew it weren't confused. People that hear what John Moo's talking about know he's confused.
Yeah, because
we're kind of the people that run the world anyways.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It sounded like you cut off. Yeah, John Moo just gives out a lot of wrong information, which is unfortunate. Because he comes from an engineer, not from...
Well, is it wrong or is it ambiguous? Is it
No,
wrong?
no, wrong. No, wrong. Not like... He told somebody, some poor guy was like, do I put my blog on a new domain, a subdomain, or a path? And John said, well, we call them all the same. So
I remember that. I'm like, what?
Yeah. So I don't think he does it intentionally. I just think he doesn't know the SEO portion. Like, yeah, they do call them all the same, but it doesn't mean it doesn't have a different connotation in SEO. So I don't think he's intentionally ubiquitous. I just think opaque. I just think he actually doesn't know the SEO factors that are involved.
Whereas Cutts was purposefully vague on purpose, which I'm thankful for.
But I love that because when he didn't say something, that was as important as what he did say. The people that got confused by Matt.
That was always my favorite. Is like Matt would put out a video or make a comment somewhere, whatever, and you'd have 50 people saying, "I told you so," and 50 people saying, "No, that's not who I meant. It's that." It was, oh my fucking god.
Yeah, with Matt, you could infer nothing. If the word did not mean anything, like with him, the word meant specifically what the word meant. And when you inferred is when you got in trouble. He was very specific.
It's not John Moo's job to tell SEOs how to do their job.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about, though.
It doesn't matter which one you put it on. It's,
like,
you know, they
yeah, that's not the that's what I'm talking about, though.
All of them the same.
Issue, you can't get any information.
Well, it's not their job to supply SEOs with information. That's up to the SEO to learn. I don't understand this this feeling that Google owes SEOs anything.
Yeah, they do. Of course they do.
Oh no, they okay. You gotta understand. See, okay, one of the favorite things I love. Oh no, hanging out with Terry. Is they have given us more fucking information, outreach, contact, Google Search Console, and a whole bunch of shit they didn't have to do.
No, that's not true. They didn't have to do it. They had to do it.
I think Terry's completely right in that.
What is Google's product?
People like this shit on. Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
What is Google's product? No,
not tell you everything.
Not ads. It's not their product. Their product is serving websites that people want to visit. If they didn't have that, ads would not be relevant. So they need us to communicate with webmasters to tell them what the sites they want to do. And if we can't do that, then they won't get good sites, and people would use like Bing.
The other aspect of that is, too, is when you appoint someone to be a spokesperson and they blog regularly and they make videos regularly and they speak regularly, it's kind of natural that the public is going to assume that this is why they're doing this, to communicate.
And I think Doc, they've totally backed off from that.
Yep.
The whole Google guy, Matt experiment didn't end the way they wanted to. So now you got Mueller and this other guy, and they're all far more veiled answers. They're far more ambiguous. I think they learned a lesson from the Matt experiment.
And often conflicting.
Yep. I think they learned something from that Matt thing. And they're like, not doing that again.
Well, I think what they probably learned is that it'd be very difficult to replace Matt because he was a wordsmith. Boy, he could, off the cuff, he could say precisely what he meant to say and no more, no less. And it's hard to find.
Yeah, he was brilliant at that. I always joked he should give classes. But the thing is that they've told us basically at the conferences this year that just build good sites, do good content, and they're not telling us anything more about updates. whatsoever, unless it's a really, really big one, which is a problem. Let's say like our site got a negative SEO attack and it hurt it badly. And then at the same time are 4 quality updates that people assume exist, but may or may not. Having zero information makes it very hard to hone in on, is it still a remnant of the attack or is it other things?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I started this when you got nothing. We had nothing at all, and sites still got optimized.
It was a lot easier back then to rank.
Can't go read a few articles on Google and do SEO. That's the only difference, and that's the way it should be.
It's not the only difference. It's much different right now than then.
Christine, to your point, shouldn't you know if your client's website's full of fucking crappy articles? Like, you know.
The thing is,
that's not
Terry,
what I'm talking about.
This is entirely different now.
Attacked.
Yeah, but no, there's a difference between ORM and crappy article updates.
No, our site was attacked by another site, something called a sitemap.
You think you might be getting spanked for thin content? You know, then fold up shop and go find a new client because you should be able to define that. If I got a client that doesn't have thin content, then I
don't know where thin content came into the discussion.
You said what happens if I get an ORM attack at the same time as Google updates?
No, I didn't say an ORM attack. I said a negative SEO attack.
Right. If you're getting my same point,
we have no SEO issues that even John Mueller can see.
All right, then that's what I'm saying. So that should be a forensic, slam dunk.
No, because we can't find an attack.
Where would we be today in terms of conjecture? Hang on, Steve. Where would we be right now in terms of conjecture if they had never bothered to tell us anything whatsoever about Hummingbird or caffeine or RankBrain? And that, for instance, that RankBrain deals with the query. Okay, if they had never told us that, simply we launched RankBrain update today. Imagine where we would be in terms of people pinging off the walls with wild-ass conjecture.
Yeah, I told them last year at the engineers thing, if they don't tell us, we make it up. And we're not always right.
Not very rarely.
Yeah, and so do they want, because if they didn't have us, let's say they never told us anything for the last 10 years, they would have such crap results with crap sites if SEOs didn't exist. And no one would use them because the reason they became dominant is they got rid of porn sites and spam.
That by what you're saying is that SEOs just follow what Google says. We don't test, we don't experiment, we don't learn things.
No, I didn't say any of that, David.
I'm going back to Terry. Before they told us anything, you still optimized by testing, by finding out what worked, what Google liked, and what it didn't.
Back then, you could put white on white text and rank.
If anything, them opening their mouths causes me more goddamn problems on Facebook groups and everything else. I'm smart enough to read patents, papers, and test, and experiment, and learn from my wisdom. Them opening their mouths just causes more fires for me to put out on Facebook and before that. Spin.
You wouldn't have anything to test.
Of course I would.
No, you wouldn't, because if you went back 10 years and had none of the knowledge you gained in the last 10 years from a Matt Cutts or a speaker at Google or an engineer or a video or a Hangout or any of that, you wouldn't know what to test.
Actually, I would. I still watch patent databases like Bill. I'm still looking at papers. I'm still learning how search engineers think, so I have hypotheses we can test against.
And with zero confirmation, it's only a guess.
Well, there's no confirmation from Google on any of this.
Your confirmation is when it works.
There's no confirmation.
No.
There's no confirmation.
There is. Yeah, there is. They tell us, yes, there is confirmation.
No, I've gotten a video from Matt that said just because we say in the patent doesn't mean we're doing it.
I didn't say the patent. Go to the Google quality raters.
They don't actually give confirmation about whether or not something in a patent works, ever.
No, I didn't say that. So they give us confirmation on whether something's a factor or not. Not always, but a lot of the time.
Right. They embargo press releases to Danny Sullivan about frequently asked questions on RankBrain that he publishes the day that RankBrain comes out. So nobody had time to actually ask any frequent questions.
I actually found RankBrain before it came out, but I didn't know what it was until they said so.
Right, but you didn't know to ask them questions about RankBrain
Right, until they said that it existed. I knew it existed. I wrote an article that was sitting at search engine land the day they came out and said it existed.
Hey, Christine.
And I had found it, but they didn't know what it was until they told us.
Christine, you just proved Dave's point because you knew about RankBrain before Google said anything.
But I didn't know what it was.
Right.
Doesn't matter. You knew what it did. That's all that matters.
That's our point.
Discovery. That's what real SEOs do.
You figured it out before anything was said by Google, and had nothing been said by Google, you would still be able to see the pattern of how something was different in Google search based on your findings, right?
But I couldn't explain that it was a vector similar query in their database.
But if you were reading papers and patents and studying it for 15 years, you would start to put the dots together and think, well, maybe it's related. Again, I don't need Google to tell me anything, like overtly in the public eye. You know what I mean?
I didn't say you can't find it. I just said it makes it easier if they tell us some of the things. Like in September when we got hit.
Okay, it may make.
Can I finish my sentence?
For me, out on Facebook groups and stuff where I have to go put out fires all the time.
David, can I finish my sentence, please?
Well, I hate it when they have
in September, when we got hit very hard by a negative SEO attack, no one can really identify yet. And I've had some of the best people in the world look at it.
Hey, you didn't come to me, so you have,
okay.
Obviously.
Anyway, so at the same time, there was a bunch of stuff going around that there was possibly 4 quality updates at the same time. Our site is not recovered from that attack. I cannot figure out why. John Mueller has no idea why.
Send it to me.
So,
I'll look at it, man.
Okay. So, but the point being is, if they said at that time, hey, we rolled out these quality updates that attack these things like Matt used to, I could go, oh, I don't have to look at those, right? Because they're not part of our site. Our site's good. Or I need to look at that because our site's not good. Because they don't tell us anything anymore. Everything is an open question. I can't shut down any of the questions until I test. And that takes a lot of time when your site's losing $200,000 a month.
Yep, for sure, man.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That's my point. It's not that I can't do the job without them. It's just nice when they shut down opportunities or tell me that that's a potential issue, so I know where I need to put my resources and my time, and not spending 100 hours running down every potential issue because that might or might not be the problem. So that's all I'm saying. It's just helpful when they used to help us, and they're not going to help us anymore, and that's basically what they told us.
Yep. Going, and that's fine by me. Doesn't bother me in the least.
Well, I'll let you trade positions with me for 4 months and tell me how you feel about it.
Well, no, see, I got out of forensics because it was very painful, like emotionally. No, I literally, lost sleep over family issues, and then listening to clients that were losing lots of money, and I'd listen to clients that were losing their house. And forensic work is very difficult. Emotionally, you know what I mean?
Yeah, normally I can always pull somebody out of the hole, and this time I can't figure out what the hole is.
Girl, I'll take a look.
And that's the first time ever. Okay, thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, feel free to send it over, man. No worries.
Okay, cool.
All right, Tim, you've been so quiet all night, man. Afternoon, well, night for you. So, what's up, Tim? What? Come on, you're always good for a rant or a topic or something. God damn it.
You just want me for my rants.
Bro. I get that as a fun, man. So how's the world? What the bees in your body? Have you heard any dumb SEO questions lately?
Shit, man, we always get dumb SEO questions. You can always tell you can always tell when somebody's published a load of shit somewhere because I think PBNs was the last one over the last month.
Still going on in 3 different groups I'm in, man.
Hey?
Yeah, the PBN discussion's still going strong in 3 different groups I'm in. People debating if it works, doesn't work, that's that, nah.
What's a PBN?
Private blog network. Spamming. Link spam. Building.
Oh, a link wheel?
People buying expired.
I haven't heard that.
Buying expired domains and filling them with links.
A link wheel? Are you serious?
Yeah, baby, I haven't heard that.
That's a legitimate SEO tactic?
No, it's not. He's not talking about link wheels.
It's the old black cat, build your own blog network, put them on different IP, yada yada
Well,
yada.
you know,
Buy domains, etc.
Yeah. Well, actually, the whole, you know, all major brands are PBNs anyway. If you really want to think about it, it's just how they're used ultimately.
Well,
You know,
it's because they already have authority, expertise, and trust, so they can get away with it. You
Yeah,
with your
yeah.
you with your SMB client, or you with your mom and pop shop cannot get away with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And I mean, yeah, but that's been the flavor of the month over the last month. People just coming up with complete shit. And like, you know, at the end of the day, it's, listen, if you wanted to create a PBN that was worth any flavor, it's going to take you 10 years. And you know, each one has to build up its own brand before you start, you know, messing about with it, that it's going to benefit you in any way, shape or form. But you can always tell when people are writing shit out there because all of a sudden they get these like little, you know, hello, I'm thinking of a PBN. Can somebody direct me for $10? I'm like, fucking hell. You know, geez.
Well, again, and that's why I start to wonder, Tim, is that, yeah, again, myself, I've been observing a few threads because Steve and Doc have taught me not to get my blood pressure up, so I have not been involving myself in them, but I've been sort of watching them. And the thought keeps occurring to me, just like you're saying, is that by the time you build any authority or anything that's going to be able to pass value from these PBNs, why wouldn't you just take that same resources, meaning time, money, whatever, into your core site, like, and then go out and network? And then, like, I had a couple of these guys that I took up in one of the groups, and they came to me privately on Skype and this and that. And I said, you know, go to your client suppliers. You know, go out here, go out there, go to local businesses. Are they local? Then go out to local businesses and network with them. And they literally, within 2 days, went out and did that and came back to me on Skype going, Dave, it worked. I talked to local businesses. They're interested, and we're going to work together, and we're going to do. I'm like, there you go. Like, you know, these are actual businesses with GMBs, like Google My Business, you know, holdings, and some sort of entity authority and everything else. They're going to, and all that time they could have spent building these PBNs, they just went out and networked with people in the industry, if it's the suppliers or local businesses, and they're going to get far more, you know, value from that than they would sit around building a PBN.
You know, there's so much crap published out there online over the last 10 years. And, you know, they come to you and they're like, oh, yeah, well, what about this? And what about a microsite? And what about and like, or someone comes to you and say, oh, like, you know, look at my business. And then you start looking at their business. Like I had a dentist this week in New York, and he was like, so I started looking at the site for him, and then it's he's got a microsite here, he's got another one there, and I'm like, well, mate, how many businesses do you have? And he's like, one. So I'm like, so why have you got all these other freaking sites? Oh, it was recommended to me. By who? Do you know what I mean? It's take your energy and take your time and put it into one business. You know, all of that, all of your energy and time and money is just, you know, you're hemorrhaging it on all these other little things, which ultimately you still need to work on. Just put it all into one and make a brilliant, you know, answer all your customers' questions in one place.
Is Dave in the loop?
Yeah, probably. Always in the kitchen being bollocked for being too loud. I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy. You know, when people when people read stuff and then they come up and they say, hey, you know, I'm going to thinking of doing this, and you're like, no, you know.
Okay, so since Dave is gone, Twitter threading. Has anybody tested Twitter threading in Google search?
No.
What is that, Steve?
I only saw it. I saw a post. Didn't it only go live yesterday or a couple of days ago?
Monday. Okay,
Monday.
So share my screen. Okay, see, we do this. Can everybody see what I'm doing here?
No.
No?
No.
No?
Little
I'm on my tiny phone, so I can't see either.
small square at the bottom of the page. It's not showing.
So in a tweet, you press the plus button to add like a continuation onto the actual conversation.
Yeah,
correct?
exactly. I can add more crap here. I can put a GIF here. Okay. The other part of this is the thing is now I can now edit a previous tweet.
Cool.
You know what I'm saying? This is what. So what happens is they don't realize I'm now editing this crap. Let me show you what a monster one looks like.
Has anyone noticed recently that, well, I suppose it works with anything and it depends on the authority of the account or the activity of it, but I've noticed for some reason a shed loads of tweets being indexed lately, well, over the last month or so.
Can you see it?
Yeah, test.
So this is one tweet.
Yeah.
Different,
Is
but
there,
you know,
is
this
there no limit?
Bobcat days.
I haven't.
Is there
I haven't been noticing an overabundance of tweets and search results.
Okay.
Not the individual tweet, just the account. So it'll like, you know, it'll have the overview. Let's say my name, it'll say Tim Kappa at Guide Twit. And then it will have, you know, like Google Plus, a post. It'll, you know, take a snippet of it. I've just, for some reason, I've seen a lot of freaking tweets appearing in search results. Maybe it's just me. I'm looking at specific things, but
I might see a line of like 3 tweets, but that's normal.
Damn, I know it's a lot of blue cars lately. It just means I've been looking at.
Yeah.
I washed my car today. It rained. It must have rained because I washed my car. But no, I'm not seeing an exorbitant amount. And even beyond that, like really, you know, it is. Again, I know you're saying that I'm just a scientist kind of SEO scientist kind of guy. But that's so dangerous because now little shitheads on Facebook are going to run away and say, "Make more tweet." Well, no, it's not going to come up for anything useful to your client. You know, so it's all very specific to the queries you're searching. Like, go search Nike shoes or go search where to buy a watch safe or something like that. You're not going to see tweet. So they're not really coming up in query spaces where it actually matters. You know, if anything, it's an ORM thing. Like, you know, does Google suck? You might see something. I don't know, you know. But even then, like I don't see tweets as really being a viable marketing strategy SEO outside of, you know, reputation management stuff. Even then, unless it's somebody you can see it. Yeah, well, obviously it's like anything. It's not evergreen. It disappears within you know, 10, 15 days. It starts dropping down. So I got a question. You mentioned a New York client, right? Yeah. So I have not had a UK client in probably a couple of years. There was a time, and I'm sure you remember, when things used to kind of start in .com and then roll out through CA, then UK, and so on and so on. Are you still seeing that over on your side of the pond? Meaning, like, do you, since you're dealing with, you know, some US clients as well as UK clients, do you find differences between languages these days, or is it pretty much ubiquitous? Yeah, no. Especially in local, over the last, let's say, 6 months, there have been some major rollouts and changes, and yeah, it affects US first. And sometimes it could have been rolled out fully in the US for sometimes up to 2 months before they even decided. Okay, because yeah, I used to have some German clients, and it was like it would go to like the US, then Canada, then UK, then Germany, and you know, it was like there was this like sort of timing effect.
Trickle down, yeah. Oh yeah, it still happens.
It still happens.
Yeah, some small things will just be a global rollout, but yeah. And there's obviously, obviously in local also, you've got this new, the new service area or the home service area ads where it's split now. So you've got like locksmiths, home service guys. You've got the Google Home Service guaranteed stuff, and then you've got normal ads, and then you've got a local pack. So yeah, like the States.
I used to think it was a competitive advantage, like when I had U.S. clients and UK clients, is that I had like this 30-day grace period to get my shit together.
Oh yeah, definitely. But then we've actually had some weird ones when they rolled out the. I guess it depends where they're coming from also, but where they rolled out those crappy single websites, they actually started rolling those out India side and Sri Lanka, all the third world countries before it hit the US and the UK.
Really? So like almost like some search quality testing was going on in smaller markets before they came over?
Yeah.
Really?
So they literally rolled, because that's really the intended market for it. That single kind of website. So
well, I would imagine even mobile stuff more importantly, because so much of I hate to say the third world, but they don't have desktop. Everyone's on mobile, so I would think of the mobile testing on over there for sure.
Yeah, and of course they made it super easy on mobile. Literally, it pulled your name, it pulled your address into it. It used your images already, and literally you've got a little bit of text space to add something. And they just pulled it through. But that rolled out India, Sri Lanka.
Yeah, that's neat. I don't know if anyone remembers the day. I used to be one of those data center watchers. I used to have all the IPs of different data centers, and you can't do that anymore. But once upon a time, you used to be able to do that. So.
Yeah. So no, it's actually pretty cool.
Terry, we can't learn anything without Google giving to us. Oh, Christine, I miss you. Oh.
I'm still here.
I know. I was kidding. Did you ever do the data center watching stuff? Did you used to have like all the Google data center IPs and check?
Oh yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, those are the days, man.
Yeah, I miss those days.
We did keep our information before Google was trying to spoon feed us. You never know. Maybe smoke and mirrors.
The Photo Master bot list, dude.
Yeah, man. Yeah, baby. Dude, I was a king of the data center watchers, man. I would mess with shit and then just watch different, and anything that happened, I'd sit there and I'd have my list of different IPs and check all my data centers all the time, man. It was fun.
I found out one of them was across the street from me.
Really? Yeah. Did it roll out first or later?
It depends on what the day was, because I figured when it was going out and pinging the updates. So it goes to a general server, and it's part of a backup server network, to where it was like basically rolling up to this one. This one would display the data and search results until the other ones in the area had rolled up, and then that one would be overwritten with the final one.
Okay, so this spawns my next question. Because talking about that kind of old time stuff we used to do makes me think about, that there was a higher level of knowledge in the SEO field. And I know since like 2007 or so, there's been a low bar to entry and whatnot. And there's none of those kind of conversations happening anymore. Now, is that a product of laziness on new practitioners, or is that just because there's more people in SEO because there's money in it?
I think you have people like myself who are doing multi-million-dollar SEO engagements with Fortune 500 companies. So a client's engagement could be 4.8 million across their properties. And
but why is there no discussions like that as much anymore? Is it something we keep in the back rooms, or am I just seeing that sentiment because there's just so many more people doing SEO than there was 10, 15 years ago?
I think
we have a lot more. Oh, sorry.
who are the content marketers who put out their message, and you've got the Neil Patels, the Brogans, the Brian Solises, the influencers that have large social media followings, that when they talk about SEO, that's the business owner's exposure.
Well, no, like Terry and I used to say, they break it down to the lowest common denominator to be able to get mass reach.
Well, I also think that there's a lot of private Facebook groups now that didn't exist back then. So I'm in like 3 private Facebook groups where a lot of those discussions happen, but they don't happen in the public so much anymore. And a lot of people that used to do the hardcore ways now and don't do it anymore.
Yeah, last year.
Give him hell, Terry. Come on, buddy. That was totally baiting you, anyways, Terry. Come on, man. Give him hell.
Yeah, I didn't have to, do that because Google gives me all the answers. So,
I didn't say that, Terry. That's that was kind of a low ball. There.
Yeah, that is.
Not what I said. That wasn't very nice.
Christine, they're being poopy, Christine. You were saying the right. Listening, they're being poopy.
Now, I personally believe it's just that SEO was more underground before, and we lived it as such. These days, and that's a good thing. It's an accepted part of the marketing strategy. It's an accepted part of the marketing mix, in that we're far more visible than we ever were, which is something we all wanted once upon a time. You know what I mean? That's something we all talked about. Why don't we get the respect? Why don't we this and that? So now that we do, we've got a low bar to entry, and a lot of people come in the industry that are just don't have that history, don't have that. Like Terry says, didn't have to dig around for the answers. They think they're being handed to them by this guy who writes, your Neil Patels, or this guy in a Facebook group, or this and that. They think the answers are being handed to them, and they don't understand that you're not necessarily getting the right answer.
True. I don't know if you heard me because my phone started off, but I say a lot of the down, the big discussions happen in the private Facebook groups now. I'm in like 3 private Facebook groups for SEO.
I don't know. Maybe you got to introduce me to some of them, because I'm in a lot of them, and I still don't see those somewhat more in-depth technical discussions. I see more of what I would consider general questions. Those are those are the bigger groups. Yeah, there's a few private where it's only like 100 people or 50 people. I think we got like 150 in ours.
Yeah. So the UK groups are still very into talking about practice too, more so than the US groups.
Super secret SEO or whatever it's called.
No, it's not super secret.
Not even around anymore. I've not seen it pop up in ages.
So, but I think you're right. There's a lack of discussion on the public level, but I'm just saying I do see the discussions on the private.
It makes me almost want to write again. Not really write again, but almost. Anyways, folks, we're going to kill this here. Let's see, we're at 2 hours and 1 hour. And, oh, shit, almost 2 hours. All right, good enough. Anybody wants into the green room, if we're still here, click a link. Everybody that's left, which isn't many of us. All right, we'll start with Christine. Tell everyone who might be watching this now or into the future who you are, where you work, what you're doing these days.
Who, me?
Yes, yo.
I am a consultant. I work for myself, primarily working in the news genre right now. Though I'm also working with a real estate-based site. It's not real estate, but in that funding.
But you are self-employed and up for hire?
Yes, always. And I love to do site audits and forensics.
For anybody who doesn't know Christine, she'd be on my top 4 or 5 list of people for audits and things of that nature.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Terry, I still love you.
No, you're definitely one of my favorite technical people. If I want to have fun, I hang with you, Bill, Terry, Alan, Weiss. Terry, tell people this will go. I'm gonna leave you to last, Terry. Let's keep this simple. We'll go with Tim. Tim, never know who you are, what you're doing the next while. You going to any conferences, anywhere people can find you, or?
No conferences lined up yet. I'm on Google Plus under my name, Facebook, same as Twitter.
Just go to Facebook, search for stupid SEO questions, I believe. Yeah.
Dumb SEO questions, yeah.
Dumb SEO questions. And yeah, he'll be there, happy to help you. Mr. Plunkett. Oh God, why?
What?
Say goodbye.
Bye.
And Terry. Oh, Terry's not even gonna do it. He's just like, fuck y'all.
What's up?
Say goodbye.
Oh,
Say
bye.
goodbye. I love this group.